So in this video, I'm going to share the 5 ways that I spend money for personal growth and happiness. Now, this is also an investing video in a different way because the way that I spend money, I actually think of those as investments as well. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean in these 5 ways. So let's get started. The first one is skills. And Benjamin Franklin said it better than anyone else. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Out of all the things you can possibly invest in right now, if you were to invest in developing a skill, that will be the best returns that you can make. Because when you develop a skill, you can provide value. And as I've spoken in other videos as well, when you provide value, that's a means of making money because money is made in exchange for the value that you provide. And because if you increase your skills, you can increase the value that you provide. You can actually keep increasing your earnings. Let me give you an example. If you have 1 lakh rupees, you put it in different kind of instruments, you might be able to get, let's say, 15% returns, 10, 12, 15%, maybe 20%. Maybe you've done something great. You're at the right time. You're 25%. Whatever, that's going to get you 25,000 rupees back on the 1 lakh investment. If you take that 1 lakh and you develop a skill that allows you to get a client that can pay you 25,000 rupees a month, let's say on a retainer basis as a freelancer, now you're making 25,000 rupees every single month, right? Instead of in a year. So you've basically 12x'd your returns just by investing that money in knowledge or skill development, as I call it. So the initial periods, I was basically just learning. And I feel that even today, one of the things that I invest in, which is the biggest way that I spend money, if you want to consider it spending, that's actually skills. So I buy online courses, I buy books, I buy programs, coaching programs, consulting. I invest in all of those different assets. So the skills that I'm learning right now, this is just for reference. I'm not saying that you should learn these skills. These are skills that in the stage of my life that I'm in, they are important for me. The first one is parenting. So my wife and I have enrolled in a Montessori parenting course, which is an ongoing program, and it has helped us a lot with our daughter. That's one thing that has helped us learn how the brain works of a child and how we can best adapt to that. And because of that course, we have kept our daughter away from devices, and we ourselves don't use devices when we are with her. We engage with her. She is growing and learning in different ways because of us developing this skill. Can you imagine the X return that we will get by having our daughter learn new things and adapt and use that phase of the absorbent mind in the first few years to help us make sure that we are providing the best environment for her to learn, right? So that can never be replaced. It's going to be the highest return that we will get because of her parenting. The second one is AI. Of course, I'm a power user of ChatGPT and Google Gemini and all of these tools. Whether it's Midjourney or Microsoft Copilot, I just keep improving my skills. So I recently bought a subscription to Masterclass that has an AI course that I'm learning. Again, this video is not sponsored by anyone. I just happened to buy that during the Labor Day sale that they were running, which is now over. You can learn on YouTube for free. There's a lot of opportunity to learn. I've learned a lot of skills from YouTube for free. So I highly recommend starting off just learning for free. But in my stage where I am, I need specialized courses and I really need to up my game because I have a fundamental intuitive understanding, for example, of digital technologies, by being in the industry for like 12 years now. So I really want specialized learning, and hence I actually invest money in courses. Also, it helps me save time. A lot of people just think that online courses are useless because all of the information is already available on YouTube. And I have to agree with that. I think a lot of information is available on YouTube for free. But at the same time, when someone compiles all of that information in one place in a structured way, I would rather just buy that and save my time, right? The third thing is coffee and tea. This is interesting for me because I only drink hot black coffee without anything inside it. But even that simple coffee can be brewed in so many ways. And I'm going deeper into that space versus, let's say just having the plain Americano every day. So it's helping me add some spice to life, some joy and some mindfulness to my morning routine. But at the same time, it's completely option. You could just use instant coffee and put hot water. There's honestly I'm not crazy about it. Yeah, I know some of my friends who are really crazy about it, but for me, it's more of a mindfulness activity. It's not that some fancy brewing style is going to taste different from my palate and it's going to leave a different aftertaste and it's going to smell different. All of these statements are true, but at the same time, I'm doing it for the mindfulness of it. Same goes for tea. As soon as it's sunset, I completely switch to tea. Even with coffee, I have only 1 cup of coffee a day, which is around 9 to 10 a.m. That's the time, that's my window of having a coffee. And I don't have coffee on weekends. So it's 4 to 5 cups a day, sometimes even just 4 cups a day, 4 cups a week, sorry. And I don't have coffee on weekends, so it's just a few cups a week, maximum of 5 cups a week of coffee. But tea is something I really enjoy, and like for example, I'm I'm learning now about flower teas, and I've just brewed a pot of rose tea with chamomile flowers because it's late, it's after sunset, and this is going to help me induce sleep once I'm done with the video. This is the last thing that I'm doing today. Usually I make videos in the morning, but this was interesting because the idea just came up and I thought, let me just record it, right? The fourth thing I'm learning is home DIY. So when I was back home in India, I used to have help. So, there were people who were doing fixing the house, and you had these apps, right, where you can ask people to come and fix things. That's not always the case, especially if you're traveling, if you're outside. So now I'm learning how to fix things. Basic fixing, yes, but now I'm learning a little bit more deeper about, home tools. And for example, I made my work table myself, a little bit more getting into DIY. And the fifth one is breathing. I think breathing is a skill which is really important to master because it can help you manage stress in situations. So I'm learning different kinds of breathing based on the situation that I'm in. So for example, if I'm stressed or I'm too excited, then what kind of breathing patterns can I use? If I'm, for example, a bit lazy, then what kind of breathing patterns can I use to get a little bit more motivated? Those are things that I'm learning as well. Now, I would totally imagine that some of you may not be able to connect the dots of how this would pay in investments, in returns, and that's completely fine. But I do understand because I've seen the process all over again in my life. Every time I've invested in skills, I've made 10x, 20x, 30x within 1 year, right? But every time I've invested in the market, I don't want to invest in the market just for returns, but on an average, 20 something percent over the past, that's my XIRR, right? So I know that if I learn, I can make much better returns. And that's one big place that I invest money in, that I spend money. For most people, I would say this is the way that I spend money. So that's the number one place where I spend money, which is to develop my skills. The second one is health. Now, by priority, I actually treat health as my biggest priority. But when I calculated my expenses, the skills was number one and health was actually number two. So health is the second place where I spend money. And these are some upgrades just to show you how I spent money on health. The first one is mattress. So I've experimented with different kinds of mattresses. And again, this is completely optional. I feel that your sleep is really in your head. And if you feel that you're going to sleep well, you'll mostly sleep well. But for me, the mattress made some difference. I used to track my sleep in the past, which now I don't. Lights is another one. So I've put a lot of LEDs and different colors of LEDs in my house, and I've changed the colors, and I've now automated that and made it part of my routine to change the colors when it's sunset. And then sleep apps. So now I've got rid of sleep tracking because I saw a huge improvement in overall the way I feel when I wake up, when I'm not tracking my sleep, and it's much better than when I am tracking my sleep. So when I'm tracking my sleep, the first problem is I have to wear something. Now it could be a ring, it could be a watch, depending on what you like. But the next day, if I look at the data, my day will go worse if the data is bad, and my day will go really well if the data is good. But when I don't have the data, I just realize every day I can pull off really well. So it's best not to track sleep. But whenever I make a huge change, I will just track sleep for a few nights and then I'll let go of the tracking. That's my protocol now with sleep. Organic fruits and vegetables. So I don't really buy fruits and vegetables from the supermarkets. I have certain connections with farms and people who sell. There are marketplaces that sell from farm and they have certifications for organic fruits and vegetables. that's amazing. Again, these are all optional things. They're just ways that I like to upgrade my life. And because I have the option, I would just spend a lot of money on these kinds of things. The third one is massages and sauna. So I get a massage followed by a sauna session every Wednesday. Wednesday is nice for me because it's midweek and it allows me to refresh for the rest of the week. So typically I would do this on Wednesday around 3 p.m. and then continue, the final working session after the sauna is done and after sunset. But this is a beautiful way to spend money as per me, and I do it weekly. So every month I would do 4 massages and sauna sessions. There are some other ways that I invest. Like if there's any new therapy, I would try it out. Like there's new therapy sessions, there's new spas, I would try it out. It's less on beauty, and more on the therapeutic aspect of it. Then there's the gym membership. So what I've done is I have 3 different gym memberships. I know that this could be a bit extra, but then it allows me to switch things up. And there is one gym that has more of a calisthenic setup, which I enjoy doing more. It has more of a CrossFit setup, which I enjoy. Then there's one gym which is open air, which I really enjoy, especially when I don't want to be inside air conditioning all the time. I don't like air conditioning. So that's also a reason why some of my videos you might see I'm actually sweating, because I just don't like to turn on the air conditioning. But I've started doing that for videos and meetings. But apart from videos and meetings, I just open the doors and windows and I use the fan. But the fan has a background noise. So now for the videos and meetings, I don't use the fan. But yeah, having 3 gym memberships is a little bit of an expense, at least as per my wife. But I have that. That's one way that I spend money. Yoga classes from time to time, I pay for the class or I pay for a package. I love doing yoga. It's just something that it's hard for me to get started, but once I'm in a class, once I've paid for a class, it's easier for me to do it. Going to the gym is something I would just do it anyway, even if no one is forcing me. But yoga is something that I have to buy the class in order to do it. But I feel amazing once I do it. So that's another way that I spend money. There's a beautiful quote, which is a healthy man wants 1,000 things. A sick man wants only one thing, which is to get better, to feel better, to recover. And this I've experienced myself because I have allergies. I have ENT problems with a lot of allergies from things. So since I have all of these allergies, I know I have to work extra hard on my health to make sure I improve my immunity and overall fitness and health, and by sleep and nutrition and training. So those are the 3 pillars of health that I focus on. And I want to, want 1,000 things. I don't want to stick to only one thing, and hence I don't want to fall ill. I also do a lot of early morning swim sessions because the water is cold and it's really good for the nervous system and everything. So that's exactly the opposite of the hot sessions with the saunas. That's my health protocol in which I spend money, so to speak. And I think of these things as investments, but those are showing on my as investments, but again, I think of these things as investments, but they show up as expenses on my sheet, and hence I'm calling it expenses, which is how it is. Then the next one is travel. Now this has been something that I've been doing all my life. My mom used to take me around India, different places in India, and then when I became independent, I became a digital nomad. I traveled 25 countries on my own, solo travel. But now as a family, we have a protocol, which is we travel locally once every month. Now we live in Vietnam, so there's a lot of beautiful nature around. So locally once a month, which is sort of a good break. Then we travel internationally every 3 months. Now it's not a fixed rule. We don't want to be stressed about this as a task, but it's just something that we've observed that we tend to do. If you look at, like, my daughter is almost 3 years old now, but she's traveled to 3 different countries already, and actually more than 3. She's traveled to 4 countries. So there's already she's repeated countries as well. So there's already a lot of different kinds of ways that the brain neural connections are open when you travel. You see different ways of life. I think it's more about seeing how people can live. Like, there are many ways that people live. There are many ways that people eat food. There are many ways that people make money. There are many ways that people pray to God. There are different gods. And just having that open mind does not restrict you by a particular frame of mind, and it removes the filters from your head. But if you compare it with someone who's growing up in the same culture, with the same people, with the same language, they will feel that that's the only way, or that's the best way to live life, and everything else is just fake or false. And I don't want to, basically bring that mindset to my children. I want them to know that there's infinite ways that you can live life, and that's the beauty of life, that you can then fill the void with the way that you want, the kind of things that you want to do, and the kind of goals that you want to pursue. It's completely up to you. Then we also alternate between nature, luxury, and local experiences. Luxury very less, because we do enjoy having like a nice pool and a gym and a spa, like a luxury hotel from time to time, but we prefer local experiences. I think that's number one. The second is nature, and the third would be luxury. So luxury, mostly we try out different kinds of Airbnbs, because I also run my own Airbnbs. It's very inspirational to me to try different Airbnbs. So yeah, this was in Bali, and I think that one of the things I wanted to mention here is that try to go local into the culture when you travel. Now, this is not a very local place, actually. This is just a picture, but we actually go very local. Not the right picture to show it, but since it looks like that, I wanted to put that picture as well. The fourth one is networking. This is really important. This is a way that you spend/invest money, by being part of a community of the right people. And I think this is a way that you improve your luck, right? So there are many ways that you can increase your luck. You can increase your luck by being in a city, for example. For me, the best city is the internet. So I want to live in peace. I don't want to live in a city. So I live in a smaller place. But at the same time, I think the internet is the biggest city. But within the internet, you can find communities. I'm part of a few groups on school, some on Circle, some WhatsApp communities. Depending on the people that I'm in touch with, the people that I enjoy, listening to or working with, content creators, then I also join their masterminds. I've joined masterminds that I have to pay like $10,000 a year for, and they've been completely worth it. But I would still say they were in my expenses, right? So that's one way that I spend money. Meetups and events. Sometimes I would fly out to a different country just for an event or just for a meetup, because I know that I can expand my luck. It increases luck by being around the right people. And since I don't live in a big city, for me, it's even more important to do this, to actively do this, because I like to live in peace. The place where I live, there's no startup community here. There's hardly people who speak English here. So, and I'm running my online business, which is doing pretty well. Just by being here. So on a day-to-day basis, I don't want the hustle, but when I choose to have the hustle, I can always go to these meetups and events. This is just my style. If you're maximizing your luck, you should probably live in a city. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but it doesn't work for me, right? At least at this stage in my life, I don't want to be in a city, because right now the priority is going to be parenting, right? So I think that children should have a clean environment, clean air, access to nature. There's both hills and beaches where I live. So there's, you could do sunrise on the beach and sunset on the hill. So those are like options that are available here that I feel are more important. Then there's delegation. This has been my biggest business expense. So the other expenses are more personal. Now I'm actually bringing delegation to my personal expenses and personal life as well. But delegation can be in the form of, for example, virtual assistants. So I hire virtual assistants to do a lot of things. So for example, on my YouTube channel, the only thing I do is make these videos, but everything else after that is done by freelancers or virtual assistants, right? So that could be editing, improving, writing descriptions, writing the titles, creating the thumbnails, posting the videos. So that's like a lot of time goes into that. And I don't do that. Similarly, for my business, there's a lot of tasks that they enjoy doing. Maybe I don't enjoy doing. I would give it to them, or, they can make money out of it, but I will lose money by doing them. I will give it to that. So just to give you an example, if I can charge a client $100 an hour, and there's a task that I have to do that I can outsource at $20 an hour, I would rather work with a client for that 1 hour, make $100, and give that $20 task to the freelancer or the virtual assistant, And that way, that's a task that if I was to do that task, I would lose $80, right? So that's an important calculation, especially as a business owner. But even in my personal life, I mean, we all do this in some way. Sometimes we order food. That's like delegation. You are supposed to cook your own food. In the old times, I still enjoy cooking my own meals. That's something that I truly enjoy. So I'm not going to delegate that. But yeah, there's automation tools. I would buy tools which will automate things. For example, I was waiting for ChatGPT to launch the premium version. As soon as they did, I bought it. So anything that's useful that will help me improve my efficiency, I would buy that tool or app. I would invest in that. So yeah, again, no sponsored tools here, but I pay for around 35 different apps and tools right now. So those are things that I spend money on very happily. In fact, delegation, if you calculate money-wise, could be my biggest expense, but that's more of a business expense, and hence I don't want to say that is for everyone. But even as an individual, there are many things that you can delegate. If you can delegate and it's going to free up time to invest in your skills, to improve your learning, to maybe add another revenue stream, then I think you should go for that, right? So those are 5 ways that I spend money. For those who have asked why I don't spend money, I actually spend a lot of money. I invest around 30% of what's left in the bank. So I spend a lot of money. I do spend a lot of money. It's just that I spend it in different ways. And I invest a lot of money because I'll make a lot of money. And hence it seems that I may not be spending that much money. So yes, that's all for this video. And I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.